Oh, off to a great start.
It's a very spooky time of year, Mitchell. Do you know what time of year it is?
Tax time.
Tax time. The time that nobody enjoys because it's difficult. Anyway.
It's Halloween!
It's Halloween!
And it's time for your cliche Halloween special.
Absolutely.
Cubby House of Horrors. But are we doing music or I don't know. This is our first YouTube special, so.
This is Two's Company, Three's a
hi.
podcast. My name is Dylan, along with my co-host,
Mighty Mitchell.
Mighty Mitchell, and this is a Halloween special episode exclusive to YouTube. You won't find this on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, but you will find it on YouTube.
Big Summer Blowout.
We do a podcast every week, twice a week, all about pop culture, but this episode is going to be our top 5 horror films.
Now, I need to subtext that by saying that we have eliminated some movies because, as some of the viewers and listeners may know, I am covered in horror villain faces. So the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Streets, the Halloweens, the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, even the Hellraisers, we've ruled out by default because we both love all of those films.
Yes.
So we are going a bit more obscure and just a personalized taste of horror films we've enjoyed.
Yes.
But maybe necessarily aren't the greatest films, but personally, they make our best of.
Yes. Now, I have a list of horror films which some were massive hits.
Yes.
And some were popular. Well, actually, mine were all popular in a way. 2 that were a bit more obscure. But 3 that were more popular, but 2 which were massive. So,
okay.
Who's up first and who wants to reveal their number 5?
Oh, so we are counting down because I didn't order these.
Scissors, paper, rock. Scissors, paper, rock.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right, you go first. I have choice, bro.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Yes. All right, so my... we didn't really order these in, like, order of which one we like most to least.
We'll count down 5 to 1, but at the same time, I haven't ordered mine in any particular way.
Yeah. Okay, so my list, I've got a movie called Event Horizon.
Oh.
Now, in a previous podcast episode of Two's Company, Three's a Podcast, we used to have a segment called Recommendations, and one of my recommendations was this film. This film, to me, was one of the better science fiction horror films of the last, say, 20-odd years. This movie came out in 1997, hard R rating, written and directed, I believe, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yes. Is this the one with Sam Neill?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a space science fiction horror film with Sam Neill, of all people. Lawrence Fishburne as well, and an alias cast of actors.
Yeah.
Essentially, the story is, just to summarize it, a space crew, essentially, they go out to find a mysterious spaceship which went missing a number of years prior, and upon its return, it brings back the gateway to hell, essentially.
And that just sums it up and sounds fucking brilliant.
The film is incredibly violent. The themes are amazing. There are some scenes in this film which were cut because it was too violent. It got the X rating.
That's always
and
good
they had,
shit, man.
Yeah, and there are glimpses of it, but not too much. But
no.
The reason this film didn't succeed so well initially is because the trailer made it look dog shit.
Yeah, the trailer and the poster. The poster was boring as fuck. I
Poster is pretty average. It looks like your typical sci-fi kind of Star Wars-esque kind of thing, which was being beaten over the head, tremendously in the late 90s. But this film is amazing. I would highly recommend it. Event Horizon, check it out.
Yeah. All right, moving on to my first pick of the night. I'm going local, Australian.
Local. Okay.
Have you heard of The Loved Ones?
Yes! Excellent
It's
choice.
my moment. Shut the fuck
but
up.
I'm excited about it.
Yes. No, The Loved Ones is a 2009 horror that came out while I was working at the video store. Did you know that?
Oh, I did know that, yeah.
No, that's right. But anyway, The Loved Ones, directed and written by Shaun Byrne, starring Xavier Samuels, who is phenomenal, Robin McLeavy, and John Brumpton. Now, this film is just a basic premise. You've got your lonely girl who's never been included in any social groups in that, so she's very lonely, and the father who wants to do anything for his daughter. And then you've got Xavier Samuels playing the hottie, the popular boy.
Yes.
Now, there's a dance coming up, or prom for our American viewers and listeners, and basically she invites him, he rejects her, obviously, because he has a girlfriend as well. He's a nice guy who's just like, I'm sorry, I can't. So the father and her kidnap him, and they spend a night torturing him, treating it as if it's her perfect prom night. And the violence in it is perfect. There's nothing over the top, but it's just a really fun kidnapping story that's got a nice little twist, and
it's
great.
There's one particular torture moment in that scene, that film, which I will not spoil, but as you said, the violence isn't over the top, but that one scene, you could imagine it happening, and that would be horrific.
It's one of those ones when I saw it at the movies, I felt it, and I was like, oh, uncomfortable. But The Loved Ones, Australian film, fantastic. That's horror done right locally.
Yes.
I loved it. So that's my first one, and I love that film.
Yes, I will definitely praise that one. The second on the list of mine, I keep fucking this up.
Yes, the fourth.
The fourth is a film, came out in 2007. I believe was released from Spain, so it's a foreign film.
I know exactly what it is.
Wreck.
Yes, Wreck.
So Wreck was remade horribly by Hollywood with a movie titled Quarantine.
Yes.
Which was exactly the same film, but somehow so much worse. The fact that the acting was so stale in comparison to the naturalized acting that we have in Wreck. It's genuine. It's terrifying.
Felt real.
Yes. So it essentially tells the story of a television reporter who's caught up after a zombie outbreak occurs. They're locked away in a apartment building where all of the occupants of the building have to sort of work together to figure out what's going on. Some try to escape, some try to stay in, and there's zombies essentially within the building.
Yeah, they're fucking sick.
Yeah,
it's great.
The cameraman follows the camera woman the entire time, and they make a horrifying discovery that there's some kind of Christian experiments happening, and there's some great body horror towards the end, which I will not spoil because that scene is amazing.
That's to me the key that the American one fucked up.
Yes, absolutely, because it carries on to the sequel of Wreck 2 perfectly, and that movie is just as good as a follow-up.
Yeah.
All the others, but Wreck number 1, as I said, came out 2007. It's a horror thriller set in an apartment building in Spain. The subtitles won't put you off this film because the visuals are amazing.
100%.
Fair enough. It is a handheld found footage film.
It doesn't make you nauseous. It's nothing like Blair Witch.
No, nothing like that at all. So I would highly recommend it. I'm not going to list the cast list because, as I said, they're all famous in Spain, but the rest of the world probably won't recognize them. But if you like this movie, you will like these actors. I highly recommend Wreck. That's definitely number 4 on my top favorite horror movies that aren't totally cliche.
Yep. No, 100%. And now that I know Wreck's on your list, that's all right. We're going to keep it European and go to Le France with High Tension.
High Tension.
High Tension. Now, this is one that I've lent to Dylan and he still hasn't watched it, you bastard.
I will
High Tension is a fantastic film by Alexandre Aja, who's actually made it big, and he did Crawl this year that we went and saw.
You did mention that, yes.
He's become a bit more successful in the Western side of the world. But High Tension, 2003, it is a fantastic story centered around two best friends who are there backpacking, and they start getting harassed by this truck driver, this personality who's trying to hunt them down and that. And I'll tell you what, for a horror movie, it's got some lovely violence, some great gore, not over the top, but with a twist ending that just slaps you in the face, and it is beautiful. That's all I can really say about this, because it's a very basic storyline, and it all comes down to that twist at the end just to sell it to you.
Yeah, and you told me that, and I still haven't watched it, but I'm certainly looking forward to sitting down and giving it the time of day.
You've got to remember, it's 2003, so it's done this ending before others have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it has been done before, but they did it in a horror sense, where a lot of other films do it in a drama kind of thing.
Yep.
And the plot twist is great, but High Tension, Alexandre Aja, beautiful film, great, kickstarted his career internationally. It's fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Good recommendation.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of films we've lent to people and haven't gotten them back yet, I can spin that around on you because you have a series. Yes, you have a series of mine which.
I know exactly where you're going.
Number 3 on my list is a film called VHS 2. There are 3 in this trilogy. Number 3, VHS Viral, is rubbish. Number 1 is really, really good. But number 2 is really where it sells it for me. So the VHS series are a anthology of mini stories told within a larger story of... So essentially, the characters within the film find tapes and they watch the tapes, and on the tapes are horrific events in certain periods of time. VHS 2, the reason this is on my list and not VHS 1 is because the stories double down on the ferocity and the violence and the story. They're not just gore fests. Some of the stories, especially VHS 1, they're not gory. They're just so messed up and creepy. But VHS 2 doubles down on, as I said, like the themes that this movie is trying to impose. But not only that, the story of the characters who find the tapes intertwines with the stories on the tapes, and that in itself is essentially very twisty, and it all syncs together really well. So VHS 2 Hard R is one of those movies which you may have heard of, which has been banned in a few countries. I wouldn't say banned, but it's definitely one of those ones where you may think it's
towed the line. It's
towed the line between what's acceptable and what's not. But I watched these movies after hearing about them thinking this must be next level. And honestly, no. Yeah. They're within reason. Okay. These movies aren't, like, for example, Cabin Fever, where the violence is just ridiculous. Yeah. This isn't like that. This is every single story that's separated out throughout this film is interesting. Yeah. Their characters are believable, and the sets are intriguing. Like, the stories within the films are intriguing. So VHS 2, I would recommend watching the first VHS first, and then leading into number 2, because just like Rec, they lead into each other so bloody well because they are connected. Yeah. So I'd highly recommend VHS for your weekend Halloween viewing.
All right. Now, during your description of that, it made me think of another one, and I was about 20 minutes before this, we just spent the whole time taking movies in and out. So I have to go old school at least once. Now, I was tossing up whether or not I wanted to, because we cut out a lot of the cliche ones. But I'm definitely going down the road to see The Last House on the Left. Yes, the 1972 Wes Craven classic, the one that was banned everywhere, and literally the poster to the movie was just, to avoid fainting during this film, keep repeating, it's only a movie, it's only a movie. That was the entire poster.
I love,
like, on repeat, like, as in
those old school marketing tips.
And this was one of the very first ultra violent, ultra topical. It's got a lot of rape in it. It's got a lot of over the top violence, but it's done to a point where at the end you leave happy.
Hasn't there been a remake of that in recent years?
Yes, there has been, and shout out to that, starring Aaron Paul. That's a fantastic remake. Okay, really good. They fucked up one particular thing about the ending that I really hated, but basic premise, in the original, you've got your two best friends, and they go out to The Last House on the Left with one of their parents. Yep. They go and see a rock show. They meet up with a hot, attractive young boy, and he's got his father and his uncle there, and little do they know that, they're murderers in that, so... Somebody gets a little bit of a rapey and a murder, and then there's a revenge story being told after that. Yeah, and it's fantastic. But Wes Craven, pioneer, on Elm Street. Absolutely. So I mean, come on. But if I can't talk about Freddy, I'm going to talk about something to do with Wes Craven.
Yeah, because he's a pioneer in the horror genre. Yeah,
that's right. Watch the original. Watch the remake. You'll see what I mean. They are fantastic for your off-field horror film. This Halloween.
Excellent. All right, so my second pick for this film is going to be a bit more generic and a bit more blockbustery, because at the time of its release in 1984, it was a massive success, and the franchise has carried on up until this day and age, up until 2019. Yeah. So, the James Cameron original, The Terminator.
Ah, very nice. Yeah. Now, a lot of people wouldn't assume that's a horror, but...
That's correct, but that's because when they think of The Terminator, they think of all of the sequels, including Terminator 2.
T2.
Yeah, which in itself was an amazing, amazing film, but T1 to me is what tipped it all off the edge for me, because this film was a straight-up slasher flick. Yeah. It's a science fiction time traveling film about a killer robot who's unstoppable against another time traveling soldier who's protecting an unborn fucking child. That's an amazing concept. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, in one of his earliest roles, the role of the Terminator was supposed to go to a different actor, the guy who plays Bishop in Alien 2. Oh, okay. And he was also Lance Hendrickson. Yeah. He was supposed to play the Terminator, and also O.J. Simpson. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger got the role. Yeah, right. Arnold Schwarzenegger got the role, and if you go back and watch Terminator 1 again, you'll know why I consider this one a horror film. Yep. Because it is seriously violent. The themes are deep. Yeah. The concepts of time travel and love between these two characters is established really fucking well. And the end scene.
Yeah.
The stop motion animation of after all the skin's burnt away from the Terminator. For me, I love old school stop motion. As I said, my favorite film of all time is RoboCop.
Yeah.
I love it. So Terminator 1 is my second all-time favorite horror film.
Offbeat horror. Absolutely.
Horror, yeah.
Now, my second to last is I had to get some comedy horror in there.
Okay.
I had to. Okay. Yeah. So it's not like under the radar. Everybody knows it. All right. I'm just going to read you the basic, perfect IMDb description and you tell me what it is.
Yep.
A man's uneventful life is disrupted by the zombie apocalypse.
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the fucking Dead.
Yes.
Okay. To me, that is the perfect representation of comedy horror.
Yep.
Zombie horror, because I love me a good zombie flick, of course. I couldn't put in Night of the Living Dead because I would, because that's like the OG zombie film.
I was thinking of that. Neither of us have a George A. Romero film in here.
I had it in there, but then it got bumped out by The Loved Ones. Okay, I'm just saying. But that's nothing against that. It's just everyone goes to that for a favorite. So Shaun of the Dead, as much as it is popular, hugely successful, spawned the Cornetto trilogy.
Yep.
It is just the perfect mix of horror with blood, with gore, with comedy, with zombies, with humor. It's just everything you want. And
heavy human themes of love and loss.
Yeah. As we discussed in a previous episode, that last scene in particular, like or the last scenes leading up to it and that gets you, man. Like that pulls on the heartstrings.
I watched Shaun of the Dead a lot when I was younger, and I loved that movie. But I recently watched it a few months ago, and I was like, "This movie's dark, man."
Yeah, man.
I didn't realize how dark it was when I was a kid because I watched it for the comedy
depressing,
and the violence. But yeah, man,
and also how quotable it is.
Yes,
still use things like "You've got red on you," like in daily life. So Shaun of the Dead, you deserve a place on my list. You are welcome.
Absolutely.
Hit him with the last one, Dilbo.
Alrighty. So my number one pick of top 5 horror movies of all time, offbeat horror movies of all time. This one may come to no surprise to some people, and this may also be on other people's top 5 horror films of all time.
Doom.
No. As much as I love those movies, they're definitely not in my top 5 horror films of all time.
Yep. All right.
All right. I'm going to give you one chance to guess.
All right. Well, I now know I'm wrong. It's not Hellraiser.
No, it's not, because we ruled this out. Listen, Hellraiser 1 and 2 could have been in my top 5 if we would allow it, but because
as mine.
Yeah. I think my top pick, though, is a much larger, more popular horror icon, however.
Oh, okay, right. Wait, so it's not it?
No.
Okay. Well, it's none of these.
Okay.
Is it?
Alien.
Ah, of course. Sorry. In my head, I immediately assume sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like, just in my head.
Well, you're correct, because Alien is total sci-fi.
Absolutely, but it's also just as good as a horror.
Yes, and just like, see, this is, if anybody who's been watching our videos and listening to our podcast right now, and this episode, this very peculiar October episode,
Halloween,
I've got Event Horizon, Terminator, and Alien on my top 5 horror films. There's 3 out of 5 which are science fiction horrors.
Yeah,
2 set in space. That. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. And Alien was one of the most famous pioneering sci-fi horror films of all time. Obviously directed by Ridley Scott, who's gone on to do other amazing things. He returned to the franchise in recent years.
Yep.
Alien Covenant, not so good. But Alien 1 and 2 were fantastic. Number 2 was obviously brilliant, just like Terminator 2, produced by James Cameron. Up the ante tenfold, but Alien, the original Alien, was very suspenseful. Suspenseful, very dark, shot very well, acted very well.
Yeah,
and the H.R. Geiger Alien, the design where that came from, has been synonymous in pop culture history ever since its inception. So Alien being my number 1 horror film of all time, I think it stands tall.
Yeah, absolutely, man, and it will forever go down as one of the best in that genre.
1979.
And it still holds up today.
Yeah.
100%. All right, so with the last one on my list, this is one that I've mentioned on the podcast before, and it is, I've never heard anyone talk about it like I do, but I absolutely love it. 1985's H.P. Lovecraft's The Reanimator.
I haven't seen The Reanimator, and I've heard nothing but fantastic things, but that's been getting resurgence lately. People are talking about it again.
Well, they fucking always should have been, because I've owned the special edition with the highlighter fucking syringe for years. I love that shit, man. But The Reanimator is a fantastic film, directed by Stuart Gordon. Jeffrey Combs. He is a legend in horror, and this is one of the pioneering roles of his horror stay. Now, basic surmise, a crackhead, almost scientist, he is experimenting on reanimating the dead, and he starts these experiments outside of America somewhere in that, and it has the greatest opening line to a movie ever. So he's... I just
better than Batman Forever? Should I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir? I'll get drive-through.
Yes. Yeah. Just a very brief thing. You've got Jeffrey Combs down on the ground with like a gurgling like person blah, and all that. A lady runs in, screams, and she goes, "You killed him!" And he drops the body, like that's convulsing on the ground, drops the body, looks her in the eyes and says, "No, I gave him life." And then it's amazing. But that's amazing. Basically, he's continuing these experiments at a particular college in that, and it's basically just the hijinks of what happens if somebody actually had something in a syringe that could reanimate the dead. Yeah. And it is most famous for, and one of the most iconic scenes is the head giving head.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a comedy horror that not so much comedy horror, it's just...
There's comedic elements.
Yeah, big time. But seriously, it is all time one of my favorite obscure horror films. It's just fantastic. Excellent. Top to bottom. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And don't be so uncomfortable by head giving head, man. Okay? It's done in a very untasteful way, okay?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing that movie eventually.
All practical effects as well. It's like beautiful. I love it.
I think that about wraps us up for our top 5 horror movies.
It is getting very sweaty here on this Halloween night.
Halloween special of Two's Company 3's a podcast. I could be going on about a whole bunch of other movies which I've only just thought of.
I feel like we're
The Fly, The Thing, as you said. There are so many other films we would love to mention, but save that for next year.
No, that's right. And anyway. I mean, I'm sure there'll be plenty more of these to come. And I apologize if I feel seem a bit uncomfortable, but we haven't done one facing the camera properly yet. So I'm a little bit on edge, but we're going to get better. Absolutely.
This has been Two's Company 3's a podcast. My name is Dylan, along with my co-host
Mitchell. You can find us on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and obviously
YouTube Big Summer Blowout. You can send us an email at Two's Company 3's a podcast at gmail.com. You can follow us on Two's Company 3's a podcast, Facebook and Instagram, 2C3Pod on Twitter.
That's right. And we are Two's Company, and you are the podcast. It's a sweaty up in here. Oh, sorry. Did you tell me to shut up?
I'll let it down. It's fine.
No, okay, cool. Wait, are we supposed to be installing camera? I want to play a game. Bitch.